So where's my pictures? So it seems that I am live. Not sure where this background came from. Let's see, what other background options do we have here? No, that's that. Why don't I have my own images here? Hmm. Okay, that one we'll have to do for now because I don't know where it went. So it's um, it's nice to be here. Hey, Marijuana Marianne, nice to almost virtually see you. Yeah, it trying to figure out how to get the background. My background disappeared. It could be I deleted all the images off my camera. Um, Way too much technology. I guess if I press done, then it will let me come back here. Let me just adjust this camera just a hair so that it sees more of me and less of this hat. So what are we talking about? This is live number 2. I need to figure out how to make Nightbot work and moderators, and I'm going to move this over a little bit so I can read the comments on my computer while we're trying to have this conversation at the same time. Hey, we go. Some really nice tours you talk about on your channel. I love Niagara Falls. I've actually been on a WeGo bus, assuming that you're part of the bus company, twice in my life, I think. Um, we were staying up the hill at the escapes me at this moment, um, and it didn't feel like driving. And parking, of course, is a fortune there. And the tour package that we were given by the hotel included WeGo tickets, so it was um, it was a good way to get from place to place. Um, at that time, hey, yeah, marijuana. I got to think more about what I need to do. Um, I know I want to make Nightbot. Everybody has Nightbot. I don't know if I want to have a paid version of the program. I don't want to get into StreamYard and some of the more complex kinds of things. Hi, Angela Ramirez. Hey, John. Hey, John Hay. Um, can you say yarn and be? No, I cannot do that. Um, and I want to actually try to do a little bit of Deepshika. How are you? Um, a little bit of pre-taped video roll or image rolls. I see people doing music with beautiful backgrounds. Um, it's Nightbot. It's easy to set up if you're using a desktop. Yeah. So I'm using a desktop, but the live itself is using the phone. So the all the interaction can be here. Now, this is here in the winter while I'm sitting in the basement. As soon as it's warm enough, I'm planning to actually do this off the boat, and and then we'll just stream like the birds and other boats going by, because I think that's kind of cool and it is kind of relaxing. I may still take a computer down to um, have something more convenient to manage on than on a phone screen. I hate phone screens. I can't read them. I poke at things, and where I poke isn't where we wanted it to be. But that's the technology, and I should be able to figure it out. How hard can it be, right? Um, yeah. So the day's been good. It's been a very nice April Fool's up here in Toronto. Um, Snow is all gone. As down on the beach, we live close to Lake Ontario, close to the beach. And hey, Martin J. Um, and I wanted to go down for a walk for exercise, and also for hey, wandering, feeling good, feeling good. Also for exercise, but also I'm working on a project for Adobe where I'm feeding the AI beast. So Adobe is one of the AI companies that pays their photographers for the pictures that they're using. Um, and So they give out assignments every once in a while of stuff that they would like to feed the AI database. And yeah, so working on that. Yeah, we go. Yeah, the music garden is amazing. The only thing wrong with it is it's impossible to park there. And there used to be Marina Key West is right beside it. Very very nice marina. Um, it's a little bit to the west of downtown, and okay. Yeah, I'll look at this moderator thing. Got to get my head in the right place. But yeah, marijuana. That's all I need to do. Eh? Okay, yeah, we should have some moderators. Some people make everybody a mod. I like that when I'm visiting a live because it lets you network easily. Um, Other people say that then if you make a troll a mod, suddenly you've let a troll inside, which is probably not that good a thing to do. The marina back to Marina Key West. The Marina Key West, I know people that have boats in there. Um, I know people that have boats in my marina in the winter, and then they move them down to downtown because they live in those condos right along the waterfront. And beautiful places to sit. The parking lot, there used to be an underground parking lot. It flooded about 15 years ago, and so the underground parking lot is no longer there. But the marina is nice. There's some good party boats there. Um, it's right across from the airport, so you can watch airplanes or get annoyed by the noise of the airplanes, which doesn't bother me. I don't mind airplanes at all. I was at the National Yacht Club for a while, and the airplanes flew right overhead. Out at Toronto Island Marina, they fly higher overhead, so you get a bit of noise. But we're in the city, so that's part of the city environment um, to deal with the noise and the flying out of that island airport is amazing into New York or into Montreal, Ottawa. It's like you're there. Hey DJ, um, so it's a wonderful thing. I certainly enjoy where my boat is now out at Outer Harbor. Hey, birds and bugs. Um, it's also almost downtown, a little bit east of downtown, by the Leslie Spit. So Leslie Spit is a bunch of reclaimed land. When they made the subways in Toronto in the 50s and 60s, all the dirt had to go somewhere. So the dirt went, hey, dings, um, the dirt went there, and it created what was at first a garbage dump. And then the environmentalists discovered it and have claimed it as a park. And it's very wild. Um, there of all the parks in the city, there are no dogs allowed because the dogs will chase the squirrels and raccoons and snakes and other things that environmentalists want to protect to some extent. So, good bicycling paths. There's a marina in the middle of the spit that is impossible to get to by road. So the Toronto Aquatic Park, I think it's called Toronto Aquatic Marina, and but it's very very secluded because it's away from the city, and the um, the downside is the airplanes fly over there as well, so they're not really away from the city. We go. You're asking how does Ontario Place look now? I haven't seen it since the summer. There's hoardings up because they're tearing down stuff and building new stuff, and people have different opinions on whether the new stuff is better than the old stuff. Um, I'm relatively old, so when our kids were 7, 8, 9, Ontario Place was a go-to place. It had amusements, it had kid-friendly mazes, it had kid-friendly rides, it had some exercise. Later on, they built a huge um, twirling water slide that lasted for about 10 years. Hey, Alicia Ali, how are you? Um, they then built a forum, which later became the Budweiser stage. So it's an entertainment venue that has pretty good, generally more folky entertainment than other seating on the grass. There's covered seating. Seen Jimmy Buffett there twice, I believe. The last time he was there 4 years ago. My boat was at National Yacht Club, and National Yacht Club is right beside Ontario Place. So there's a bunch of breakwaters all along the lake that have been there since the 30s and 40s. And we found one of the guys that had a boat there, took us over on his boat. So we went to see, hey, Aqua's Turbulent. So we went to see Jimmy Buffett by boat. Now, it was a whole 15-minute ride, but the concept was still pretty cool. And the guy that ran it was a wonderful guy, um, and we had a bunch of other good friends on there. So if it had been like a 3-hour cruise to Jimmy Buffett, that would have been even better. But it was sort of a neat way to see a guy that sings about boats and life on a boat, and life by the ocean. So that was kind of neat. But Ontario Place is no longer Ontario Place. It's a construction zone. It is said that it's going to be a wonderful place. I'm sure that when they built it in the first place, because it's also landfill from some construction project in the 60s, I guess. There was complaints about it, for it and against it. I remember I lived in Hamilton at the time, and when Ontario Place opened, so Ontario Place was one of the first Cinespheres. That is a spherical dome with a spherical screen, and it escapes me at the moment what the projector is that does that 360-degree projection. And I remember driving from Hamilton by motorcycle with a friend, and we went to see a production called North of Superior. So North of Superior, hey Minda, how are you? Um, yeah, Minda. So it was a production by the government of Ontario to promote Ontario Place at the time when it opened. IMAX, it's an IMAX theater. And it was helicopter footage of the northern part of Lake Superior. So Lake Superior is the most northern, western part of the Great Lakes, and that divides the U.S. and Canada. And most of the footage, if I remember correctly, was in the fall. So beautiful fall footage. I've never been up there. Thunder Bay is up there, for instance. Never been up there, but it was beautiful, beautiful, beautiful footage, and I fell in love with the concept of big screen production that started there. And then I've been involved with IMAX productions at the Science Center, not so much running the shows, but interviewing people that that were presenting there or talking there and stuff like that. So it's the this whole IMAX concept is amazing. Now, it's before we had phones with video, and there's a lot to be said for watching a movie on your phone instead of having to go somewhere and sit there and be surrounded by 1,000 other people and waiting for the show to start. But they did have popcorn. The popcorn was good. Um, so it's been closed for about 2 years. When it started winding down, like they took down the water slide, the Cinesphere, I don't think it had another production in it for a long time. The restaurants were closed. Um, there still was still a big marina, um, but it became mainly a walking trail, and people raved about the beaver tails. Beaver tail is a piece of dough with sugar on it. Yeah, it's a dough with sugar on it. But if you're eating it outside, it is kind of cool. Um, and then people would put up light shows and sort of few commercially sponsored kind of walkthroughs that attracted attention. But once the kid stuff disappeared 20 years ago, it has um, it has certainly lost its appeal. Will I ever go to the spa that they're going to open up there? Probably not. Um, they when they closed the marina, so that marina's been around as long as Ontario Place has been. I remember spending a night with some people there, I guess 35 years ago, and and it was a wonderful place. The sort of camaraderie, a lot of transient boats, visiting boats. Hey, Tracy's visiting there. A bit of a party atmosphere. Sometimes when you're in a marina, you just want to sleep. Um, but this was kind of neat. Um, I came to the conclusion from talking to a few other people that they were there more to be seen than to see. Um, Guys picking up women because apparently boaters are an object of attraction to some people, and it it it's a neat place. So when that got closed 2 years ago, 250 boats got dispersed around the city, and there's not that many other marinas for them to go to. So there was a little bit of a kerfuffle in the boating community about where to go. Um, I guess that boats were partly sailboats, partly cruisers, partly bow riders, like small boats, wakeboards, kinds of things. Um, Not any really big cruisers because there just wasn't enough space. I guess the other good thing about it is it had a gas dock downtown. So um, gas is an issue everywhere. You need it to run the boat, but nobody wants it because when things leak, hey, Lucy Warrens, thanks for coming to my life. John Lee, nice to see you here. Um, so you need gas, but people don't like it, or cities don't like it because if there's a bit of spillage, it gets in the water and kills the fish, which they say is a bad thing. But without gas, your boat ain't going to go. And in the Toronto area, there's a gas dock. Was a gas dock at Ontario Place, gas dock at Toronto Island Marina, and a gas dock at Outer Harbor. So not a lot of gas docks. And of course, gas at the marina is more expensive than gas at the gas station. I remember the first time I went to Ontario Place to get gas. I've got a 50-gallon gas tank, so it's not big, right? And it is diesel, so it's not a big gas tank. But I'm parked behind this huge cruiser, 35, 38-foot cruiser, and the guy says to the pump attendant, he says, "Stop when it hits $999." And I'm saying to him, "Oh my God, that's that's oh, thanks, Tracy's. Yeah, don't know how to do that, but I appreciate that. I'm sure that it's a good thing." The uh, gas stocks. Toronto, if we're, again, we're talking about Toronto a little bit. Toronto Island Marina is on Center Island, pardon me, is on Center Island. So Toronto Islands is a bunch of islands that actually were naturally made. They were made from the sand that washed down from the Scarborough Bluffs over the years and piled up to make a bunch of islands. At one point, there was a whole community of people living there. There was hotels. There was a baseball stadium. And then the city, because it's very hard to maintain residences. Hey, Northern Girl, how are you? Um, the um, the city decided it would turf out or expropriate most of the houses. I think there's still 30 or 40 on one side of the island, a place called Ward's Island. And people are sort of grandfathered in there, and they can't sell their places, and they have to die before they get turned over. And there's still people that want to get rid of them because of the cost of maintaining that. That is a residential area with fire services and keeping the ferries going, even when there's ice. But so Center Island is the biggest part of it. Um, Nice sort of garden walkway. There's a fishing pier that nobody fishes off of. Um, and there's a place called Centerville. So Centerville has been there for years as well. And it has kiddie rides. Scarborough, yeah. Um, the kiddie rides, some of them sort of died down during COVID because the place closed down during COVID, and so they lost a bit of that. But it was it was a nice kid place, and you had to take the ferry, Toronto ferries, to get there. Yeah, west of Sudbury still has ice. Toronto isn't Toronto's good. I was at the beach, and it was bright, sunny, and not a spot of ice to be seen. Everybody still had parkas on, of course, me included. So Center Island, off to the west side of it, has Muggs Island, and there's some channels, and Carabana used to have a big jump up there. The Chin picnic parties, lots of music was there. But there's a marina on Toronto Island called, of course, the Toronto Island Marina. And that marina has a bunch of nice docks. It's a bit secluded. Um, my boat was there for 3 winters, so 2 summers, maybe 3 summers, and our kids were 4 and 5 at that time. And the thing that everybody liked was getting on the ferry, going out to the island. It is the island, south to the island. And once the last ferry left at 11:30, you were there for the night. So it was a little bit secluded and a little bit mysterious. And the kids loved sleeping on the boat. At that time, they didn't know better yet. And then during the day, we'd walk around and see stuff. Go to Centerville and ride the little choo-choo train there. And there's sort of a Ferris wheelie kind of thing there that was good. A lot of those things died down when Canada's Wonderland opened, and people started going north of the city, and they spent real money on real roller coasters and crazy, maddening things that go upside down, and also entertainment. So a lot of what used to be centered on Ontario Place has not left the city, but left the areas that some of us remember and are told that we must remember how great they were. But they'll come back. They'll come back. So Marina. So downtown, downtown has a couple other marinas. There's a Marina Pier 4, most famous because it's next to Center Harbor. And Harborfront. So Harbourfront is sort of a government-run old warehouse, 1920s warehouse that got saved when all the other warehouses got torn down, and shipping sort of left the city. Everything got gentrified, um, and so there's a marina in there that, again, is a place to be seen more than to see. Um, Most powerboats, most guys with loudspeakers, and they're enjoying their best lives. And the advantage of that place for the partiers over Marina Key West at the Music Garden is that there's a couple of bars, 3 bars, right next to the marina. Um, there's the entertainment of Harbourfront on the other side of it, and it's right downtown. So it's a very convenient place. Parking absolutely atrocious. So somehow our city expects us to take a streetcar and drag all of our crap down to the boat on a streetcar. Um, I'm not sure that they had thought that through all the way, or they don't care about that boating community and the tourism that it might attract. I know one thing people complain about is that there's a bunch of restaurants along the waterfront, but as a visiting boater, you can't tie up anywhere for free. You can tie up for $30 to pick up lunch at one of the restaurants um, at the harbor, at the waterfront. So that doesn't make sense for a harbor city. But they have not yet read my tweet about that, and they probably won't. As we go further west, there's less boating until you get into well, there's the Royal Canadian Yacht Club on the island. Um, that is the queen of all yacht clubs because, of course, it's the Royal Canadian Yacht Club. Um, the big problem they have, the same as Toronto Island Marina, is that you can't get there. The advantage that they have is they have 2 old antique tenders that are like tugboats, covered tugboats almost, that they use to bring their boat owners and guests out to. Used to be that you couldn't get on the thing unless you had on a 3-piece suit or blazer and tie. I understand they've relaxed that a little bit. Um, as you move further east, then you get into Cherry Beach, and Cherry Beach is neat because it's right downtown for all practical purposes. Um, my sister has an office in one of the downtown towers, and she can look out her window and see Cherry Beach. Um, but it's rustic. The parking lot wasn't paved until about 5 years ago, which kept the people in the Porsches out because, of course, they'd bought them in the potholes. Um, so it required Jeep and Jimmy kinds of people, which are a different breed altogether. And as you go further, just past there are a bunch of, I call them community sailing associations. So they're boating clubs with no pretentiousness except a place to leave a boat. So I think of J-Town and Moortown and Toronto's Centerboard. I just talked to a guy from there. There's a triamaran club there. And basically it's just an open area, trees with a fence, a couple of porta potties is as elegant as it gets, and some homeless tents right on their front door as well. Um, but it's low cost, and it's a different boating environment than a Royal Yacht Club that needs to take their hats off when they're in the presence of a picture of the Queen. And then as you go further east yet, you end up at Leslie Spit and the marina that I'm in now that has room for a couple of hundred boats, 150 boats, 250 boats. Um, there's a proper bathroom and shower and laundry. So there's some good things there. But the food facilities are two chocolate bar machines. I'm not even sure there's a Coke machine. And in the last couple of years, they've brought out coffee truck. Hey, trekking. A coffee truck that's been there for the summer, and they've got some really good cappuccinos and some biscotti and a few cookies and stuff like that. So they make a nice treat. But if you want your own food, you've either got to prepare it on board, which is sort of what started me looking at the whole boat cooking kind of thing, um, or bring it down. To get to the marina from anywhere, you basically drive by one, two, three grocery stores, um, all of which have prepared food or semi-prepared food. And even if you had to zoom up and zoom back, it's a 5 minute drive. Um, and basically everybody drives. I know a few people that bicycle there that live close by, but it's a driving community. And and this place is nice because it's a little bit isolated. Again, it's so close to the city, but it's like you're in a totally different world. For people that know Toronto, it's where the Hearn generating station is. It's sort of in the shadow of the Hearn generating station, which is a big coal-fired generating station with a huge smokestack down by the waterfront that got decommissioned maybe 20 years ago and then got replaced by a fired power plant because they discovered that the city of Toronto is a growing city and needs electricity. And that's become controversial a bit as well because now they want to put up an 80-story condo just downwind of this thing. So it's going to be an interesting battle between the different factions. It's probably going to take 20 years before we see the first Lamborghini driving by. So there may never be anything that I have to adapt to or adjust to or even celebrate. Certainly, when we look at Marina Key West, at the east end of the city, right across the street are beautiful condos that some of the original waterfront condos, and people live there and walk down to their boats for the afternoon or for the day or for the hour. So there's an advantage to playing where you live. And then as you get further west, you get into Scarborough, um, which once upon a time was seen as not part of Toronto, and then it got amalgamated, and the Torontonians still don't like Scarbarians, and the Scarbarians still think that Torontonians look down their noses at them. Um, the, um, the Scarborough yacht clubs are next to the Bluffs. So the Bluffs is sort of these sand dunes at the edge of the shore there that are slowly sinking into the lake, and they are working hard to preserve these things, but they've been eroding for 1,000 years. So it's a question of what are you saving. The thing is, people have built $1 million houses along there because of the view, and their backyards are disappearing. And every once in a while, somebody climbs down there, and then they can't get up, and then the fire trucks and the helicopters have to come and rescue them at great expense, and a lot of news coverage. But so the Bluffers Marina, there's a Bluffers Marina, there's a yacht club down there. Um, that's again close to the city, close to civilization, but far enough away to be a little bit of a retreat. But when that was built, the powers that be built it at the end of a of a single two-lane road that has houses on one side and a school on the other side. So the road can't easily be expanded, and the houses people don't want it expanded. They don't want the traffic. So most Friday afternoons, the police come out to the where that road starts at Kingston Road, and start blocking off all of the lanes because you can't get down. First of all, the parking lot isn't that big, and so if all of the visitors go down, suddenly the parking lot is full, and it's turned into fights at various times. I know people that are in the marina and people that are in the yacht club, and I ask them how do they get to their boats on weekends. So they have a card, but they have to zoom around all the traffic and get down there, and if they have guests, that becomes a um, okay, Tracy's. We'll see you later. Thanks for dropping by. Really love you. Um, so people line up, and it's a beautiful place, but impossible to get to. They have decided that they're going to build floating homes in that marina. So I think there's 20 floating homes that, again, by Toronto standards, aren't cheap. They're $800,000 houses that float, and you can't get a mortgage on them. And this isn't Vancouver or Florida or Marina del Rey. Things freeze here, so it's an amazing thing. But people go there because of this the surroundings. First of all, the sort of the solitude. I think they go without thinking about how they're going to get in and out of there. But I mean, I've been in Marina del Rey, and that is such a huge marina, and people live on the boats, and there's houses and condos along all of the docks and along all of the waterways. And some of the people that I'd met there when I did some work in LA had no interest in the boating community, but they wanted to be close to the ocean, and they wanted to hear seagulls. So, and I think it was cheaper than Malibu, of course, at the time, before Malibu unfortunately burned down, and and I believe cheaper than Santa Monica because it was all new, and it was boating people as opposed to whatever non-boating people are. So we're pretty blessed with marinas here. The if you go further east, and I'm babbling about marinas, but nobody said don't talk about marinas anymore. If you go further west, then you get into Mississauga. And I had posted a couple of shorts of some of these places. I've taken them all down because somebody, Lashona, who some of you may know, said, don't have shorts because shorts are not good for your growth. Okay, so I'm trying to grow, so got rid of the shorts. We'll bring it back later as long forms. But as you go west, there's a bunch of marinas and boating clubs. Mimico Cruising Club is a club. Port Credit Marina is the huge marina in the middle of Mississauga. Port Credit Yacht Club is on the same premises, but more private. And pretty soon you're into Hamilton. And so Hamilton driving is an hour, sailing is about 4. So there's a lot of interesting places close to the shore that you can sail by, you can drive to visit. Port Credit has their waterfront eating arrangements more under control than Toronto. There's some wonderful places to eat down on the Port Credit docks, and free parking. Huge free parking lot that Mississauga has felt is necessary or is appropriate for the boating community and for the people that hang around with people that boat. One of the things we seem to do, both Ontario Place and Port Credit, is we seem to take old freighters and sink them, or not sink them, but mount them in concrete has breakwalls. So there's one at Ontario Place, and there's one at Port Credit. And if you see some of the wonderful pictures on Instagram of the Port Credit boat with the city of Toronto in the background, it's sort of, brings all of the feelings of a nautical life without actually working on a fishing trawler in the South Pacific or an oil rig in the North Sea with 50-foot waves. It makes you feel that you're part of that community. As far as I know, the Ontario Place ship is not going anywhere because they still need a breakwater breakwall to keep the waves out, and it looks cool. It yeah. So part of Toronto Islands is the Billy Bishop Airport, that is also contentious. People are for the airplanes. People are against the airplanes. The airport's been there since before. I don't think it was there for the First World War. It was since before the Second World War, and part of the area is famous for the fact that we trained airmen from Norway. There's still a big place called Norway Park there to celebrate that. And at the time it was all industrial, so there was no concern over noise. And then when the waterfront lands all became residential, then noise becomes a factor, and provides people with an opportunity to hang their hats on a for or against kind of environment. But the island airport is good. Porter and Air Canada fly out of there, so it's very easy transportation from downtown Toronto to the northern U.S., to Ottawa, Montreal. I believe they fly as far as Sault Ste. Marie on the west, and a lot of tourist helicopters. And thank God, touch wood, we haven't had any of them run into each other yet. And some private planes as well. The private planes are probably a little bit like boats and cars, in that governments keep trying to push them somewhere else. Buttonville, is north of the city, has been closed to be turned into condominiums as well. And Buttonville used to be a couple of hundred airplanes. Ontario, Billy Bishop, Toronto Centre Island Airport, I see 2 or 3 private planes now and a few smaller commercial planes trying to compete with the Air Canada and the Porters. And the Toronto Island is also, airport is also a big place for, hey, Will Pagdram, how are you? It's also where the air ambulances stop, in most cases, bringing people into Toronto. Toronto Sick Kids has a rooftop helipad, and St. Mike's has a rooftop helipad. So sometimes we'll see helicopters overhead landing on the hospital. But a lot of their patient deliveries are into the island airport, and then they're run to hospitals by land ambulance. I assume that's because there are some risks around landing a helicopter on a high-rise building in the middle of downtown. There's certainly enough movies about where that has gone wrong. So that may be a factor as to why they're not flying directly to the hospitals as well. So we see a lot of that, and those are relatively big helicopters that are quite noisy. In the fall, for the last number of years, as far as I can remember, there's always been an air show, the Canadian International Air Show, and that has flown many of its smaller planes out of the island airport as well. So we'll see all of the antiques, the trainers, and the some of the stunt planes flying out of the airport, because it's close to where basically seats are sold to watch this at Ontario Place. And again, the kids have enjoyed sitting on the banks on the north side of the channel between the island and airport, because it is actually an island. It's not connected by a bridge. It's connected by a tunnel to the city. But so when there's demonstration flights and other nonsense, great place for the kids to sit and just watch what's happening. The bigger planes. Hey, Cloud Kicker, how are you? The bigger planes. So we'd get like the snowbirds would come into that air show. The Red Hornets, the Blue Angels. Red Hornets, I believe, is the British. Hey, Nancy. It's the British demonstration jet team. They would all land and operate out of Pearson Airport, which is north of the city. Hey, Flexify. Welcome to my ramble about airplanes and places where boats go in Toronto. They would hang out there, and then they'd come down to do their bypasses and their smoke trails and their parachute jumps and all of the neat things that make a lot of noise and get people excited for a couple of hours. Interesting thing about the island airport. Two interesting things, I guess. One is there are white keep-out buoys. Somewhere I've got a video that has us sailing by there on each end of the runway. So the runway is an east-west runway, so that's parallel to the city. And at each end, so the Toronto Harbour end and the lake end, there are a whole bunch of white buoys with little signs that say "keep out," and the sign that says $500 fine if you don't keep out. And some people can't read, so they do wander in there. And it seems that there's almost somebody waiting. The Marine police station can see it from that. They've got a tower. There's a Marine police station right downtown, right next to Marina Pier 4, next to the Amsterdam bar. And they've got sort of a lookout tower. And don't know if it's manned all day or not, but I know I've seen people intrude into those buoys, and they're but there's another buoys a little bit further out with a sign on it that says that if your mast is taller than 38 feet, so we're 30 something but not 38, you have to radio the airport for clearance, because planes are coming in so low at the end of the runway that they feel that the 38-foot mast might end up getting tangled up with an airplane. I don't know if they have the same issues in Boston, because Boston is an airport that's in the water. Vancouver is in the water. LA is by the water. But they're concerned here about tall sailboats getting too close. Not close enough to get into this keep-out area, but just too close. I would guess it's 500 feet, maybe. It's not a mile, a quarter mile maybe, from the end of the runway. I've never seen anybody's mast get snagged by a low-flying airplane, which would be embarrassing for the boat and possibly deadly for the airplane. But yeah, once you're out in the water there, we were talking about Ontario Place earlier. You get wonderful views of Ontario Place. I've got videos of some of those sailing trips, and I've got one more from last year to post, sort of to get my head ready for thinking of this year's um, sailing in that area. So there's the Ontario place. Its most noticeable landmark is this dome, the Sinister, this IMAX theater dome. So it's a geodesic dome with all the angles of aluminum holding up the inner skin, similar to the one in Montreal that burned down, is the closest one that I can think of. Um, but it's a beautiful landmark that you can see from way out. Um, oh, the other thing about the airport and height restrictions. So for the longest time, my boat was at National Yacht Club. National Yacht Club is right across from the airport, across the channel. And they've been there for 130 years. So they were there well long before the airport was even a gleam in somebody's eye. And but when the airport was built, it was agreed that boats would not be stored with the mast up because of there's a small north-south runway, and if that ever gets used, then the boats that are stored on land in the winter at the National would again cause safety concerns to low-flying planes coming in to the airport. Now, the condos on all sides are getting much higher than the masts will ever be. Um, so that's going to become a moot point, and I think that north-south runway is rarely, if ever, used unless there's a really bad wind because it's a short runway, so nothing serious. Um, Medevac plane, Orange ambulance run a couple of fixed wing planes, so they might be able to land there. And small Cessnas sized planes, but nothing else is really going to come into that north-south runway. But there was concern about masts getting in the way of airplanes, and that was an annoying thing there. So at the Outer Harbor Marina, there's none of those restrictions, so the masts just stay on the boats and eliminates the whole issue of taking them down and putting them back up and breaking things, losing things. But it provides the opportunity to inspect things. If you never look at something, out of sight, out of mind, you never notice that something's come loose at the top. If many boats have lights at the top, and lights have light bulbs, and light bulbs burn out. So now how do you deal with replacing or fixing a light bulb at the top of a 30-foot mast? There are people that climb up masts, and I'm not one of them. There are crane services, and at this marina, they take the mast down with a crane, and then you do your thing to fix it at your own speed, and then put them back up. But I can visualize being up at the top of this mast with a tool belt, and you drop the most important part. And the people that build these boats, you think they know that people are going to climb up their mast to loosen the screw. But the screws, again, this is for the lights particularly, are in such weird places that you can't get a screwdriver in there and still be able to hold the screw so that when it comes out, that it doesn't suddenly head for the drink. But no, I've had a bunch of boats where there's weird things at the top of the mast that seem to me so poorly designed that they could have done something different. But in this case, Hunter has been building boats for 40 years, and if they haven't figured out how to make a mast yet, then they're never going to learn, and they're not going to take advice from me to do it better. I know this year I'm debating whether to take the mast down because it's been up for 5 years. I tested all the lights last year, and there's a video of that. So we seem to be okay. And you can get a lot of a good look at the fittings and where the ropes go and whether things have come loose with binoculars and the camera, the telephoto lens. But we'll see. Maybe this year we'll be bored one day and we'll say, oh, let's go take the mast down and see what we can find at the top of it. And then while you've got it down, then you say, oh, I should replace this light bulb, or I should replace this light because it's an old design and a new design would work better. And gets into part of the things. Hey, Dan Anderson, I can almost hear you playing. Um, you open anything and there's always another can of worms, and you know that you shouldn't ignore it. You know that it's going to be a major chore if something breaks at the wrong time. Um, Masts are delicate things, tricky things. They weigh a couple 100 pounds. They're held up by a bunch of wires and one little pivot point at the bottom. If one wire breaks or gives or comes off, the whole thing comes crashing down. So now you've lost your mast, and 100 pounds falling on top of a fiberglass boat, of course, will make a huge hole in that. And I'm not 100% sure that it's covered by insurance because you did it yourself. Hey, creatures, I can visualize some of your drawings. I've never really checked to see if that kind of thing is covered by insurance. So um, that'll be an issue for the summer to decide mast down, mast up. Um, not 100% sure where we'd go. I know last time we talked with Tracy's, I don't know if she's still here, about drifter sails. Maybe that's going to be one of the big projects this year to get this huge colorful sail that's made out of very light cloth, so that it moves the boat well, even in very little wind. Because a sailboat without a wind is kind of an oxymoronish kind of thing. It has a motor, but it doesn't make a very good motorboat. So it's something to consider. Maybe we'll look around the internet ads to see who's selling one, and hope that you're not going to get ripped off. That's really the only thing I really want to do this year, and to consider anyway, in terms of adding stuff to the boat. I've thought at times a cockpit cover so that you can sit in outside in the rain. We have most of it, but we don't have the side walls, so the wind will blow through, and you'll still get wet. Where we are, there are no mosquitoes, so that was a huge, pleasant surprise, because it's next to wilderness on all sides, and I did expect that we'd have mosquito problems, that you couldn't sit on the boat in the evening or at night without getting eaten, and that hasn't been the case. But people have built full tent enclosures with mosquito netting all around to provide an airy place that is still dry and bug free. Some of them I felt a little bit claustrophobic in, because there's so much fabric it becomes almost a whole tent, and it's defeated the purpose of fresh air and breeze and blowing through. But people enjoy them, and I know one couple that sleep in them. They sleep outside in the summer. They're not outside, so they're still covered and they're bug free, but they're not sleeping inside the boat. So it's like camping without dirt underneath, and some of the comforts of the boat, like the head, for instance, within reach, as opposed to having to either go find a big tree or the local porta potty. So that's going to be stuff getting ready. The boat goes in the water on April 28th, so that's only 4 weeks away from today. We needed a bit warmer to do some painting, and an oil change that we're going to document and post as well. I saw somebody had posted their oil changes on TikTok, and I was both fascinated and curious as to why. Yeah, April 20th will be before we know it. Time flies. Today I was down at the beach, and it was sunny and warm. Still had a parka on and my hood up a few times, but it, um, it was a beautiful day up here. So I don't know what the rest of the week's going to be like. We'll worry about that when we get to it. I'm going to sign off. I guess we've covered a bunch of things that I hope are interesting to some people. Got a few likes. Appreciate that. And we'll we'll figure out. Marijuana Marianne is gone. We were talking. He was talking about getting Nightbot organized and some of the things that make it better for visitors to the live, like the ability to post your link so that you can sort of share your connections and get a bit of publicity out of it. I find I appreciate that and value that on other people's lives, and I think it is a good way to grow a bit of a community and still have a bit of fun doing it. So we'll see what we talk about next time. Maybe get a little bit more into cooking. I've got to start dealing with the boat barbecue. It's still sitting in a box on the floor here. But maybe fire it up at home and see how it works. It's bigger than the last one I had. And but I have a bunch of small propane tanks left over from when we had the big power failure in 2005. Can't remember when it was. Anyway, we had the big power failure, and one of the first things I did was rush out and buy a few tanks of barbecue gas and a few 6 packs of small propane cans. And I believe they never go bad, so they're going to get used for this in any case. And I keep talking about fridges. So one of the things I need to do on the boat is I do have a fridge where the compressor is and the cooling fan is. It's a little bit too open, and I keep worrying about things falling in there. So I need to build a bit of an enclosure to keep basically me out of that, or keep stuff that you store in there from rolling around and banging into the walls. Excuse me. Pardon me. A bit of a sneezer. So it's a sensitive instrument. It's so valuable. Keep some food in it, but mainly keep drinks in it. And geez, if you don't have cold drinks, what are you going to do? I don't know where to buy ice anymore. We've gotten past that life. And then before we know it, we'll be doing these lives off the back of the boat. So thank you all for coming. I really do appreciate it. I think I said hi to everybody. The live, the chat gets posted. If you want to contact somebody, leave a comment, and other people will send a comment back. Thank you very much. I will find the button that terminates this, which is right here. Goodbye. Are I sure I want to stop streaming? I'm sure.